Right?
It was your position that took care of it. So I just gave it to her. I'm assuming
Good morning. It's Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. We are here for the Commissioners' Weekly Meeting. I will now call the meeting to order and ask that you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Adoption of current agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose that we moved item number 2 and 3 from the regular business to the consent agenda.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Approval of minutes, November 27th, 2024.
No additions, corrections here.
No corrections.
Approval of warrant registers.
Mr. Chairman, we have one this morning. I move to approve fund expenditures in the amount of $892,381.03, and it has been signed by 2 members of the Auditor's Office and our County Administrator.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please come forward. State your name and you have 3 minutes. Hearing, seeing none. Moving on to approval of consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that, I request that item 2 be held for separate discussion and approval.
All right.
So I'll second the motion for approval of the consent agenda with discussion on item 2.
Therefore, I move for the approval of consent items 1, 3 through 11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So, Mr. Chairman, on item 2, we have an interlocal agreement with Adams County, and I understand this is through district court. Looking through it and talking to Mr. Johnson, there's a fee of $20, and if we're going all the way up to Adams County picking up prisoners, bringing them for road cleanup and coming back with an employee, a van, diesel, insurance, I don't know how $20 a prisoner is paying for that. And am I wrong in the assessment of $20 per prisoner?
I'm not sure if that's the way that the agreement was intended to work. Commissioner, good morning, by the way. Jeff Briggs here for the
Good morning.
prosecutor's office. I worked with Judge Orozco on this agreement. My assessment of it was that whoever was participating in the work crew would show up here to perform the work crew, that we wouldn't facilitate transporting them.
Oh, so they're bringing them down to our...
I don't think anyone's bringing them anywhere. These are out of custody individuals that are coming
Right.
down to.
Probation individuals.
Right,
So they're coming down to our location, getting in the van, going out and cleaning up roads?
correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is a lot better. Mm-hmm. So there'd be a van full of people and,
Right, they would just show up here, and there's a work crew van, and they'd go around and, you
okay,
know,
I didn't
perform
get
community service.
that. I just, as I read through it, I didn't see that, so.
Sure, sure. I guess I would point out there's no provisions in there for transporting individuals from Adams County to Franklin County. I don't think Judge Orozco would have agreed to do that, and I agree $20 wouldn't get you there.
No. So I appreciate that. So with that, I move for the approval of Resolution 2024-0283.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to regular business, Resolution 2024-0290, deviation of accessory structure standards, CUP 2024-13.
Mr. Chairman, we've moved those to consent. We're on to number one.
Oh, I thought they moved number one and two.
1 and 4 are the ones we got to move
Yeah,
on.
2 and 3 is the ones we moved.
All right, my mistake, thank you. Regular business, item number 2,
So we need to address number 1 and number 4.
All right, thank you. Resolution 2024-0289, 2024 Employee Service Awards presented by Margot Wilder, Human Resources Director. Good morning.
Good morning. So the resolution in front of you is for the 2024 Employee Service Awards. What these service awards are for is for employees who have hit milestone years, starting at 5 years, going all the way up to however long they're here, for every 5 years. These service awards are broken down by whether they're a 7.5 or an 8-hour employee. So that correlates to, and then different times. These hours are personal leave. They do not get paid out if an employee were to separate, and they are only available for the year of 2025. And there are 21 employees this year who have hit milestone years.
That's awesome.
Yes, that's quite amazing.
Thank you.
Sorry, what? The awards are downstairs on my desk. I was going to hand them out, so sorry, I didn't know if you were wanting to do that.
Are there any of those folks here? Happy to acknowledge them.
There's quite a number of them here.
Would you like me to read the list?
Don't you?
We will start at the top. Sally McKenzie from Public Works, who's been here for 30 years. Craig Erdman from Public Works, 30 years. Teresa Garcia, District Court, 30 years. Al DeSantiago from Corrections, 25 years. Patty Severance from Prosecuting Attorney's Office, 25 years. Yvette Wilson from Corrections, 25 years. Andrea Cardoza from Planning and Building, 25 years. Monty Huber from the Sheriff's Office, 20 years. Angela Fallon from the Prosecuting Office, 20 years. Gordon Thomason from the Sheriff's Office, 20 years. Marcus Connor from the Sheriff's Office, 15 years. Janet Nimitz from Corrections, 15 years. Maureen Astley from the PA's Office, 15 years. Renee Burbaugh from the Auditor's Office, 15 years. Ruby Ochoa, Clerk's Office, 10 years. Bo Beckley, Information Services, 10 years. Ryan Riddle, Sheriff's Office, 10 years. Ramona Bolanos from the Sheriff's Office, 10 years. Eddie Estes from the Corrections, 10 years. Russ Stetsky from Treasurer's Office, 10 years. And Stuart Burke from the Treasurer's Office for 10 years.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, that's quite a testament to put that many years of service in, and we greatly appreciate all of your hard work and efforts. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2024-0289.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2024-0291, open record meeting. Vacation of easement, VOE 2024-02, presented by Aaron Gunderson, Planning 1.
Thank you. Let's see, we just gotta get the projector going here. Where is it? All right, so, this is just a, vacation of easement. Let's see. So this is kind of where it's located, or at least the lot in question that they're wanting to vacate the easement. It's over in Clark's. Oh,
Just one moment. Do we need to officially open a meeting?
It's an open record meeting. So at this point, I will open the open record meeting.
Thank you.
okay. Yeah, thank you. So get back to that. This is kind of the parcel information there. It's in the Clark's Addition neighborhood. Essentially, the request is they want to vacate a 10-foot wide utility easement that kind of runs right through the mid part of Lot 2 as part of the short plat 2023-13. Essentially, the applicant is stating the easement is not currently being used and would like to remove it for purposes of construction. And so this is kind of a city map. It's an older, okay, I just decided to. So it's kind of an older aerial, but at least gives you an idea that where it's located at. And then this is the easement in particular that they're wanting to vacate. And then we received the following comments. One from Franklin PUD, which is part of the application submittal, where they indicated they have no stake in that easement. And then when we put it out for public comment or public agency comment, we both received comments from Public Works and the Health District, and they both concurred that they have no interest in that easement or any use of that. So, and then that's kind of suggested motion. So is there any questions or?
Questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
why was the easement put in to begin with?
That's a good question. Because during the research on this, it seemed like the original short plat, the original draft that we had to review, that was not included, nor was when they kicked it back to us, after we sent out a approval conditions letter, where we noted, hey, you need to change all these things. Even that one didn't include it, but for whatever reason, the version I got recorded, this easement kind of appeared.
I noticed on the map, the adjoining piece of property has an easement through it too. Should we just get rid of this easement?
You can add that lot more than likely.
Is it just those two lots, or is there more that have this easement through it?
No, it's just those two for, as you can see here, it's just these two for whatever reason. The applicant, the context of the application is they just wanted to vacate lot 2. However, and I believe in the packet, let me grab that. Franklin PD's letter, at least on that particular one, they stated, I think they were covering both lot 1 and lot 2 as part of that.
Okay.
However, the other agency comments, I don't know, they're only speaking to lot 2 because that was the intent, or at least for the application, is they just wanted to vacate lot 2.
Did you contact the other person in lot 1 to see if they wanted that easement?
Well, so the way it is the main applicant actually owns lot 1. So that's the main, or at least the main agent representing. His house is on lot 1. And then he's kind of representing the guy from lot 2, essentially, is what that's about, as far as.
But they only want the one easement relieved.
That's what he put in the application. So that's kind of why we're processing the way we're processing it.
So the owner of the, on that picture, not the one where the yellow stripe is,
Yeah. So the guy that owns lot 1, that is the actual.
so
yeah.
this guy is who made the application, but the requested vacation is only this lot.
Yeah, because that has to do with construction of a house that they're wanting to have that vacated.
Do we know was the applicant, does he realize that he did not request this portion of right-of-way be vacated?
Like I said, the application, the way it was presented, he just wanted to vacate lot 2. So
But nobody asked if they realized that we were only vacating this, not even the portion on the.
well, considering he put together the application,
I
he's
appreciate-
aware of. the
I
fact
appreciate that. However,
yeah.
the answer to that is no. Nobody asked if the applicant realizes that the applicant's own lot was not put in the application for vacation.
Well, in the sense we didn't, I guess, tell him that. However, as you can tell, I mean, he's fully aware that there is an easement running through his property. So, I mean, he could have asked for that vacation as well, or to include that lot if he wanted to. He didn't really indicate that he wanted to include lot 1 as well in that. So that's kind of,
While I appreciate
yeah.
what you're saying, having done this quite a number of times myself, the process can be arduous and complicated. And when we see something like this,
Yeah.
I would think that it would be best practices to ask for clarity if there's understanding that I mean, his efforts would have been no more for asking for both lots as it was for the single one.
Okay.
Is that accurate? I mean, the efforts would have been no more.
No, yeah, I mean, you would have corrected, yeah, as far as the application and everything else.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I propose that maybe we table this and leave it open until next meeting and have you get a hold of that applicant to see if he wants that vacated also, so we could do this one time for him? And you don't have to come before us again.
Would that delay his construction?
Possibly. I don't know what his construction time scales are. It was just that, he was just requesting a vacation for the start of construction.
Also
so.
seeing that there's nothing, no power, nothing going through this, Eric, would it be out of our authority to just grant?
Well, what I don't
both
know
areas?
is whether or not this triggers a new application process. I don't know the process well
Yeah.
enough.
Well,
frankly,
I mean, at bare minimum, we might need to resend it out for agency comment,
yeah, that was
just
my-
because. So we would just kick it out maybe to the agencies that commented and go, hey, is this okay if we can vacate lot 1 as well?
Yeah, that was my only concern is,
Yeah.
does it trigger something else?
Yeah. So,
Can I just add a comment? I mean, if this applicant has put in the work and effort to get this approved, if we now kick it back for the sole reason that we are now trying to interpret what other possibilities they might want, that could cause other delays that this applicant may be well aware of. We have to assume they knew exactly what they're applying for. We have the application, we have the other parcel that's listed there. It's clearly identifiable as another easement. If we delay what they're asking for, I think that's gonna have more of a detrimental effect, because essentially, they're gonna have to go back through the application process again. It has to trigger public notice, because now, for this particular parcel, other people could weigh in and say, hey, I don't agree with that. This is what the applicant has put forward to the board, and I think that's really the focus that the board should look at. And if the person wants to come back later and say, hey, I've proposed that, now I see that maybe there's a need for removing the other one, I'm gonna go through that process again, file the application fee and do it. And I recognize you're trying to help the person out, but I think we might be hindering what they're
So-
asking for, because I think it's gonna reopen the whole process again. And so let's approve, or at least
Yep.
let the board consider what they've put forward. And obviously, it will be just as simple of a process to go through it again, if that's what they want. I just don't want us to read into other factors that could delay what this person has actually asked the
Yeah,
board to
and
consider.
I fully agree with you, and the applicant did make note that time was of the essence in the stuff, and I do that. My disappointment and frustration is the question was not even asked. And our job is to serve the public at their convenience, and that includes asking questions for something that we do regularly that they do not. And if we see something that is, in my mind, in this case, is very blatant, we should ask the question. And I'm disappointed that we did not. So yes, I believe we should continue with this action today, and not delay them. But in the future, I would encourage us to ask the question. Our job is, every time if necessary, to hold the public's hand through a process that they may or may not be familiar with. And if they need help, or we should at least ask the question, because likely we are more versed in the process than they are.
And that's a
So-
great policy issue to put forward, is making sure that, hey, we're proactive. Hey, what is it you're trying to
Absolutely.
achieve? What is your overall objective here, and having those conversations? I fully agree with that, because they've put forth the effort to start that application process, and if there's something simple that may be a benefit, but I don't want to assume either. There could be a very good reason why the applicant specifically chose not to do that. And you're right, having those questions asked at the initial process and application, that way they could have that discussion. But when I hear things like, hey, time is of the essence, I wouldn't want the board to do anything that would
Agreed.
hinder that applicant's interest. But I think that is a good, good comment moving forward. Thank you. That's all.
I would concur, and most definitely don't want to slow the process down, so.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of resolution.
I
Gotta
think I
close
need
it.
to close.
Gotta close it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, is there any other comments? Hearing none, at this point, I will close.
You gotta ask the public if there's anybody out there that wants to comment.
That's why I thought I was asking, but
No,
is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on this? Hearing none, at this point, I will close the open record meeting and will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of resolution 2024-0291 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Gunderson.
Yeah.
Appreciate the work and effort. Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Johnson.
Yep, thank you. A couple of quick things, three elements on personnel. We have set, and you'll be being contacted about meetings with a planning director applicant. So we have one-on-one opportunities. We're bringing an applicant into town on December 19th. It is December 19th, correct? Yeah, yes. We will be meeting a small group tomorrow to bring a recommendation forward to you, and hopefully tomorrow, on an RFP for the recruitment of the county administrator. So hopefully that will be on your agenda here either the following week or the next week. We still will have to decide whether or not we have to do more work associated with that before we bring that to you. But we do have 11 firms that have applied to do the RFP. And complete the RFP for the recruitment process. I'll have a meeting, I think, this afternoon with our current OPD interim director and potential candidate to fill in prior to our initiating a recruitment following the adoption of the budget for a permanent director of the Office of Public Defense. Things with the HAPO, we'll be bringing you a extension of the interlocal agreement with the city of Pasco. Looking at now extending that potentially through May 31st in conversation with the city manager. We've also given them the go-ahead to continue to work on kind of their repairs and renovations that they're doing out there, carpet, painting, and a variety of other things to make that facility more attractive and more functional, in fact, for those that utilize it. Let's see. I've been talking to folks about revisiting kind of the investment in the sobering center. So bringing that back up for consideration or alternatives associated with that as we look to potentially have something on this side of the river in conjunction with the fact that the facility at the Columbia River or Columbia Valley Recovery Center, has several years till it's open and practical. So just looking at some things associated with that. So we've had some preliminary meetings doing that. Working with Benton County, our legal counsel, as we look to the restructuring within the Juvenile Justice Center programs and facilities that we've talked about throughout the budget process. We need an agreement between the courts and the two boards of county commissioners in Franklin County and Benton County. So working on that. There's still some outlying issues that we're working through. One of the things I'll be starting to transition to think about is trying to meet with all of the partners within the .09 funds. We have been gathering funds without allocations of those, so really need to think about the plan of action associated with that and gain your engagement in that as I do that here in the next several weeks to early January. 2024 budget amendments we'll start really looking at more in earnest as well. We know there will be some budget amendments that will need to be reviewed and some funds potentially looked at and expenditures looked at so that we can make sure that we have all of the correct appropriation expenditures covered in the 2024 budget. So we'll be coming back to that. Next week, we will have the, and I simply call them the radios, but we'll have the agreement in front of you for consideration on the agreement with the 5 partners. So we'll be bringing that to you next Wednesday. I think those are the bulk of the things that are kind of in the media. Obviously, the budget, and we'll talk more about that later after this meeting. Just have really been intensifying our execution now of all of the documents necessary for you to adopt the 2025 budget. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bauman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, immediately following our commissioners' meeting, I took myself and our IS director, Beckley, up to Spokane and met with Senator Schessler, had a robust and thorough conversation about some of the challenges that we face with emergency communications and some footwork for us to do on that end, reaching out to other counties and trying to understand how Franklin County is in the condition or the position that they are with a failing emergency communications system, and see what our peers across the state are like. Enjoyed a wonderful Thanksgiving season, and just really enjoyed some time of relaxation with my family. Budget meeting on Monday, had a WASAC presentation about vehicle miles traveled charge, and the state trying to identify and projecting what the more and more efficient vehicles do in relationship to taxes collected and our ailing transportation network. Had the opportunity to be sworn into office for this short term as an appointed commissioner. The way that it works is when somebody is sworn into that office and the election is certified, that person immediately takes office. So I'm officially now holding elected office, not appointed office. So thank you both for that opportunity to serve as an appointed, and thank you to the community for the opportunity to serve as your elected commissioner in District 1. Had a unique challenge. I was doing a bunch of physical labor one day, and I ripped a hole in one of my jean pockets, and I lost the key to my office door. And the replacement of that key was arduous, unnecessary, and complicated. And so I've asked the county administrator to help identify a way to make that less complicated and arduous when somebody does what I did, which is lose their key. And then just wanted to say thank you to Gray, our public records officer. We've been working diligently. Primarily, they have been working diligently to make the process a little bit cleaner and more collaborative across the different offices in the county. And just wanted to say thank you to Gray for all the efforts that's going there. And Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Didier.
Light week last week, no meetings at all, as a matter of fact. I got a question for Eric on this agreement with the 5 partners within this radio. What is going to be our commitment to that if we agree to that? It's the initial payment will be in December.
2020. Well, we have funds for one of the initial payments, but the first major payment will be due in 2026.
2026.
Yeah.
Oh, good. A whole nother year away.
Right.
But we have the funds available for the initial agreement? That
Right.
was,
Well, there's an element, and I'm not an expert on this, and Bo might come up, but we do have the allocations available, which is about $950,000, I think it is, and we've got that funds identified.
Our commitment for 2025 is within the emergency communications budget. It's a residual leftover from when we did have dispatch.
Okay.
That is going towards the microwave infrastructure upgrade. That's not for the radios. That's the radios. You guys will discuss signing that next week.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you, Bo.
Yep.
Appreciate that. And then my other concern is our Attorney General is all wrapped up right now and taking on President Trump and another 4 years of lawsuits. I don't think we're gonna get any opinion from him or his staff on this unconstitutional pay, and I think as a county, we need to move forward on this. I think we need to go before a judge and let the judge rule on this. That's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. So Thanksgiving week last week, pretty short week. Had the budget workshop on Monday. Fielded some calls from constituents, questions about the GMA. But other than that, that is it. So moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please come forward. You have 3 minutes. State your name. Thank you.
Sean Sant, prosecuting attorney. I just wanted to put some names and positions behind those that were recognized today. Not only were these milestone years for people serving in my office, but these are very key individuals and helpful for the ongoing services that are provided to the county. Angie Phelan essentially has been in the child support division of our office and has basically taken on that role as lead. She is a legal secretary by title, but essentially she is the heart and soul of child support. She provides, with her experience as a paralegal, provides direct support for our prosecutor, making their job easier. So essentially our prosecutor gets to go to court, review all the materials that are presented and prepared in advance, and Angie has played an instrumental role in not only that aspect of the job, but also training others. The other individual, Patty Severns, I don't think her title really does it justice, because she is really she's a systems administrator, but essentially her role is monitoring all the software that we have. We have complex case management software. If there's any issues that need to be fixed, updates, that is her primary role. She's also the key staff for integrating the whole Tyler system that is involved with our law enforcement network, the connectivity between law enforcement reports, how those get sent to our office, integrated into our case management system. But also she's the trainer. Basically what it does is it falls upon her if there's a need for training or clarification on procedures within the civil, the juvenile, district court, and felony divisions of the office, as well as provides direct support to our office administrator, Kelly, as well. So, I mean, that's a very key position. Not just has she been there for the 20 years, but 25 years, but that's a really key role for our office. And then lastly, Maureen Astley, she is one of my criminal chiefs. She is one of the prosecutors that I have known since when I started office back in 2011. She was in district court, very proactive prosecutor, very what you would call, I guess, aggressive, not afraid of taking on any kind of case or challenge to trial. She proved herself as a trial lawyer in the district court division and has worked her way up into felony, and now is one of our probably most experienced trial attorneys that we have in the county, trying probably the most cases and some of the most serious cases, primarily those of sexual assault or violent crimes. And so I just want to put a shout out to those individuals in the office, because recognizing years of service is one thing, but recognizing what key role they actually hold, I think, is equally essential. Lastly, I just want to comment on the question for the Attorney General opinion, and just for clarification of how this works. For us to file a court case without having, I guess, clarification or an understanding of what the AG's opinion would be, we basically have to initiate a lawsuit. That lawsuit would require us to appoint special counsel to represent each of the former county commissioners. It would also likely require us to appoint counsel to the county auditor as well in his office, because as this board knows, anytime there's vouchers that come forward for approval through that process, the board makes sure that 2 members of the auditor's office have approved these expenditures. That occurred on every single one of these payments to the 3 former commissioners. So for us to go after that, it's a little bit more complicated than simply going to a court and asking a court, hey, can you please make a ruling on it? We would have to actually initiate a suit. Because the commissioners were acting as a board, they took board action. That board action has been reviewed. The payment was reviewed by the auditor's office. The question would almost imply that somehow there's been wrongdoing within the auditor's office. I don't believe that's the case, or wrongdoing by individual board members. When they act as a board, we basically indemnify them. And that's clear from the case that we had up in Stevens County, which is a benefit for the board because the board is allowed to make decisions that might be questions or otherwise found to be unfruitful, or maybe board decisions that maybe should have been adjusted or redone. But the benefit of acting as a board is that it gets county protection. In other words, that prevents the board members from being held against their bond because they're acting in their capacity as official board members. So that's really why we can't just file a suit or take it, or I should say that's the complication with doing that, because I think the cost-benefit analysis, and we're still working with it. I just sent a communication to the AG's office, and the AG himself is not personally doing that review. They designate, just like I do in my office. I will take on certain cases myself, but they've designated a team that essentially is working on it, and I get assured that it's continuing to go, and I appreciate the frustration because it has taken a long time. We submitted this in June of '23. We're still waiting. We've submitted other attorney general requests that were of benefit throughout the state, and that's why we did it in this case, because not only did it have some bearing on helping our county in future decisions, but other counties and other, frankly, municipalities that are in a similar situation where their benefits might have been in a similar situation. So it is of benefit to the state, and I'm sure it is a complex area because it does involve looking at IRS regulations, the VEBA specific contractual language. It requires a lot more than just simply looking at, hey, is this compensation? Because we already have an AG opinion from, I believe it was the 80s, that came out and earlier said, hey, we believe this could qualify as compensation. The legislature, in direct response to that, took action, basically passed a law that says no, insurance and benefits for healthcare are not. And so that's really the question that we have, and we have a legitimate question, and that's why we are patiently, sometimes frustrated, in waiting like you, because I would like to have their answer and their legal analysis, because that's exactly what we're going to have to present to the court. And if we get a return as we file something with the court that really tells us that, hey, this isn't as significant as an issue, then that's a concern. The other issue is we've reached out to the state auditor's office. They are also waiting for the AG opinion. And essentially, I want the board to know we are trying to do what we can with the resources that we have. And by taking action prior to a finding by the state auditor or a finding from the AG's opinion that basically would give the state auditor's office a finding, we really don't have anything to present to the court by saying, hey, Your Honor, we're asking you to decide this. We have these opinions. We have a finding from the state auditor's office that says, hey, we believe that this is wrong. We don't have that. We don't have that information. So we're frustratingly, like you, patiently waiting for the AG's office to give us that response. And I have followed the board's direction to try to follow up with them. I reach out to them recently. Again, I'm waiting to see if there is give me an update. But what they have basically told us before is that they don't give us the timeline, but they did tell me in the spring that they were in the final stages of the draft. And I recognize the complexity of this issue, and I recognize that that seems like a long time if that was back in March, April timeframe, that it's in the final stages, but I also recognize the priorities. And obviously with the change of the AG taking a new position, that might cause internal changes within the office, but I just wanted the board and the public to understand it is under review. They do have assistant attorney generals that are reviewing this case, and I recognize the complexities, and I'm frustrated with you, but we're patiently awaiting because I think that'll give everybody clear action on the process to go forward, and it gives a county a good position to be in once we have their opinion. So anyway, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add, if the board wants to talk further about potential litigation, they do that in executive session. I would just encourage you to keep that in mind.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? You have a timer. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to address the arduous, complicated process of getting Mr. Bauman his replacement key because there was obviously not the whole story there. We have a long-standing process within the county for issuing and replacing keys. Every employee in this county understands that. When it was known that Commissioner Bauman lost his key, he was provided a replacement key within 1 hour of us finding that out. Now, the arduous, complicated process may have occurred because Commissioner Bauman did not come to the sheriff's office like every other employee does, and went through multiple other people to try and circumvent our tracking of who has what keys in this courthouse, and tried to get somebody else to make the key for him. So if the process needs to be addressed, go for it. But there needed to be some clarity on what really happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Good morning, people.
Good morning.
My name is John Doe. This isn't the issue that I'm exactly here for right now, but I figured I'd put it on the record. I had a conversation with Mr. Bauman and the prosecuting attorney with respect to the law library funds way before it was an issue on budget, and I felt that he wasn't reflective of the people's come to find out already wishes, because there is a law library fund already in place. Come to find out it's almost $500,000. And he offered that to the sheriff's department, knowing that I had already asked for a better library and librarian. The Enabling Act of this state is founded on higher education, and I don't think that he was forthcoming. So I want the people to know that. And I possibly will be filing a petition to have you unseated. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room for public comment? Hearing none. Is there any need for executive session today?
No.
Any further business for the good of the county? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
On our budget.
We'll recess till 11 o'clock. So the board will reconvene at 11 from their previous meeting that they recessed at on Monday.
All right. So at 11 o'clock, we'll reconvene for the budget workshop.
Hopefully the budget adoption.
Adoption, thank you.